Greta, it's been only 7 months since you've started school striking for the climate all by yourself. Today you are the big star of a global movement. Wherever you go, it causes quite a scene. People, in fact, thousands of people want to see you, want to take photos, selfies, or want to interview you. Do you like this level of attention?
Not really. I don't really like being in the center of attention. I find it hard sometimes with all the attention and people everywhere, but I can't really complain because I've put myself in this situation. So, and it's a small price to pay, knowing that you have an impact. And if that is something I have to do in order to continue doing this, then I don't mind.
And do you think, does it help the Fridays for Future movement that everybody is focused on you now?
I don't think everyone is focused on me. I think that since this is a movement, everyone is equally included. Everyone is equally important. And I think, at least I hope that's the case. I think so because this is something that we need to do together. One person can't change the world, but one person can influence other people so that they together can change the world.
And does it help you? You describe yourself as shy and as someone who usually doesn't speak much. But now you are standing literally on one of the biggest stages of the world and you have to speak all the time. What does that do to you?
Privately, I'm very shy. I don't speak. I don't make small talk, and I never speak unless I think it's necessary. But when I have a speech, when I am in front of an audience, then I don't get nervous because I know I have something to say and a message I want to get out. So that I don't find hard, strangely. Everyone else think that is hard and don't mind making small talk, but for me it's the exact opposite.
And you never get nervous?
Sometimes a little bit, but no, I wouldn't say so. Maybe like a small tiny bit, but not nervous.
Because you're so focused.
Yeah.
That's the explanation?
Yes.
I like this photo a lot. Of course you know it, because it shows you. It shows you on the 20th of August 2018, the very first day of your school strike, with your famous sign, sitting in front of the Swedish parliament. Did you expect then that you might have to sit there alone for like weeks or months before anyone would react?
Actually, I didn't really expect anything. I just thought that I'm going to do what I can do, everything in my power to get attention and focus on the climate crisis. And if I do this, then maybe the media will write about it and people will start talking about it. So I didn't really have any expectations. I didn't do it to create a movement.
You didn't do it to create a movement?
No, I did it so that people would start talking about it more and that it would get normalized in the media. But I only sat alone for one day. Already the second day, people started joining me. And
were you surprised?
I was very surprised. I didn't expect that reaction, but it was also, of course, it was very huge step, because the step from 1 to 2 is always the hardest and the biggest step, and once you have passed that step, you are not far from creating a movement. And then more and more people started coming and joining in Stockholm, and then after maybe a week people started doing it in other Swedish cities, and then in other countries, and then in other continents, and then suddenly it was a global phenomenon. I think a tipping point was when Australia started striking. The November 30th, it was like tens of thousands of children in Australia, and then after that it was the COP, and then Germany started doing it, Switzerland, Belgium, the UK, Canada, and so on, and then it just escalated, and now March 15th was like the big global strike.
Yes.
And then we had the latest update is 1.63 million children who school strike for the climate on all continents, including Antarctica.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Did your parents allow you to start the school strike?
No, I mean they didn't approve of it. But when I first told them, I started planning myself, and I started planning on what I was going to do, and then I told them about my plans, my idea, and they weren't very. They didn't think it was that good of an idea. They said, "Are you sure you want to do this? And isn't there anything else you can do?" And I said, "No, I'm going to do this, whether you approve of not or not."
So it didn't bother you?
No, they can't stop me from doing it. I mean, I explained to them why I was doing it, and they know why and they understand why, but they still don't, as parents, think it's right.
And where does your radical determination come from? What do you think?
I think I'm a realist. I see facts.
You're a realist, not radical. You're realistic.
I am realistic. And I know what needs to be done, and then I just do it. I have no doubts and second thoughts. When I decide to do something, and when it's something I'm really passionate about, then I do it. There's no second option. And I know how bad the situation is. I have spoken to countless of scientists, and I have read countless of reports and articles, and I know how bad the situation is, and then I feel like if I don't do anything, then I will regret it later.
In Davos you said, "I want you to panic. I want you to feel the fear I feel every day." What exactly are you afraid of?
I am afraid of the uncertainty of the future, that we don't know what is going to happen. We might soon, if we haven't already, passed tipping points. Mm-hmm. And once we do that, there is no going back. And then we can't just invent something in the future or new technologies, because then the Earth gets in a position where it starts warming itself. And that I think is very scary. And many people react very strongly when they hear that I say I want you to panic. But because many people think that by panic you run around screaming and no one knows anything, it's all chaos. But by panic, I mean that we step out of our comfort zones, and that we change our behavior and our way to look at this crisis and treat this crisis.
Can you understand that there are many people who don't feel the fear you feel and who have not begun to panic so far?
Definitely, because to feel this fear and to have that feeling and conviction, you need to know what is going on. And the most people I speak to, they are not fully aware of the situation. And when you are not fully aware of the situation, then you don't know really what's going on, and then you don't know what that situation, what you need to do, what your role is, and what really is at risk.
Mm-hmm. You have the Asperger's syndrome. I'm not that familiar with it, and I think most of the people aren't. So, if you don't mind, what impact does the syndrome have on the way you think?
It has very, very much impact. Because if I wouldn't have had this diagnosis, then I would have been like everyone else. And I had just continued like everyone else, not noticing something was wrong. But now I am different, I think different, I work differently. And
do you understand differently as well?
Some things some people say that, oh, climate change is so important, and yet they just carry on like before. And I don't understand how you can have such double standards. Mm-hmm. If I think something is important, then I spend 100% of my energy on that, and I can't do that at the same time as I am doing the opposite, as people do today. Yeah.
3 years ago, I guess, I'm not quite sure, but 3 years ago, roundabout, you radically changed the life of your family. You managed to have your family stop eating meat, for example. How did you do that, and what did it take to convince them?
Not quite much. In the beginning, they were like everyone else. They were like, don't worry, someone will invent something in the future, and people have this under control. But the more I read about it, the more I understood that we don't have this under control. So then I started to become worried about it, and I told my parents about it, and I talked to them, and I kept showing them articles and graphs and everything like that, and at the beginning they were like everyone else. Okay, that is important, but and so on. They always had excuses, but then I made them feel so guilty.
You made them feel guilty?
Yeah, I told.
Bad news for your parents.
Yeah, I just kept telling them that they were stealing our future, and that you cannot stand up for human rights while you are living that lifestyle, and then they decided to do those changes because I have made them feel very guilty.
Now all of them are vegan. Nobody, no, they're not.
My dad, but my mom, she tries.
She tries to.
She's like 90% vegan, and then she eats some others. She's like a trash can. She eats things that was supposed to be thrown out. But they try.
And I think nobody of your family members is allowed to fly anymore. That's why your mother had to give up her international career as an opera singer. That's quite a big sacrifice to make. Is there no room for compromise when it comes to your lifestyle?
For them, it is. of course, but for me, I see things very much black and white, and for me, it's either you live sustainable or you don't live sustainable. You can't be a little bit sustainable, and for them, for most people, they're like, you can fly on vacation once every 2 years or things like that. But for me, I can't do it because I wouldn't be able to look myself in the eyes then if I would fly around telling other people to reduce their carbon footprints.
So you go by train, you travel by train, you do not buy new clothes anymore, if that is right, and you do not want to get Christmas presents anymore, as far as I know. Do you expect us all, really us all, to live like you do?
No, of course not. I'm not telling anyone to live a certain lifestyle. All I'm doing is trying to make people aware, and then so that they educate themselves and try to understand how the situation is really like. And then once they know all those facts, they can decide on their own whether they want to make those sacrifices, if you could call it that. So I'm not telling anyone. I'm just seeing like the graph on how much % per year we need to reduce our emissions, and then I want to make my own contribution to that.
You've also faced criticism, as you know. There are people who claim, for example, that you do not write your speeches yourself, that you are manipulated and instrumentalized. Is there any truth behind it?
I mean, it's just really ridiculous, really, that people think so little of each other that they try to put others down, and that no one can do something just for a good cause. There always has to be a hidden agenda behind it, and I think that's very sad. But of course, since people are not aware of what the climate crisis really means, then what I'm doing must be seen as very strange. And of course, I'm not manipulated. I write my own speeches, but sometimes I have like scientists come with input so that everything is correct and that nothing can be misunderstood. And
does it hurt you that people say these things and are looking for a hidden agenda?
I mean, I think in the beginning it did, because I was sad because they spreaded lies, and that they spent all the time spreading hate and lies and leaving out facts. But then I realized that I can't do anything about it. They are just a small percentage of all the people, and that since they are doing that, writing those things, it means that what we are doing, the school strike movement is doing, is having an impact, and that they feel threatened by it. So I think it's a positive sign.
Recently it has been said that you are in favor of nuclear power. Are you?
Personally, no. But I mean, nuclear power is not the future, it's not renewable. But according to the IPCC, not according to me, according to the IPCC, nuclear power can be a small part of a very big new fossil-free energy solution in countries and areas that lack the possibility of 100% renewables. But I mean, nuclear power is very dangerous, expensive and time-consuming. I mean, just ask a scientist if we were to replace fossil fuels with nuclear power, how many new nuclear power plants we would have to build each week within the time frame of the Paris Agreement to to reach the Paris Agreement, and how much money that will cost, how much time it takes to build nuclear power, and how much it takes from our remaining carbon budget. So, but if we should talk about these things, we should talk about energy efficiency, and especially reducing our energy demand. But still, we can't keep focusing on these small things. We need to realize that there are no solutions within these current systems, and we need to see the whole picture and to have a holistic view on the climate crisis.
Yes, but let me follow up. If one wants to stop the emissions, and that is what you want, not to lower them, but to stop the emissions, is it then possible to avoid nuclear energy, in your understanding?
Ask scientists. That is something I can't speak out on because I don't have that scientific education. That is such a big decision that we need to have scientific evidence and scientific-based recommendations on what we should do, so I can't say what we should do.
You said in an interview recently your parents have noticed that you have become happier in the past months. Why is that?
I think it's because I have something I feel like I must do. I feel like I'm having an impact, and that I think I have gotten a meaning in a way. And I think today we lack that very much. We only focus on the surface and we only care about shallow things. And I think that we need to have something to fight for. And I think this is something that I feel like I want to do.
And you met people who think like you do?
Yes, I have met many people before I started school striking. I hadn't really met many young people who cared about the climate crisis. But now I have met many such people. I thought that I was alone worrying about and caring about these issues, but they have proved me wrong, that my generation, many of them do care.
And what do you do when the hype around you subsides one day, perhaps, and you haven't reached your goal yet?
I mean, I'm not going to be this much in the media attention. I'm not going to be this interesting for media all the time. It's going to end soon. But I know that my goal is just to do everything I can. I mean, many people say that my mission will fail. I don't really have a mission. My mission is to do everything in my power to make the world a better place, and to try to do everything in my power to make the world be in line with the Paris Agreement. And I know I'm not going to achieve that. One person is not going to achieve that. It takes cooperation, and we need to work together to reach that.
Greta, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.